on record pace at Fontana, California in the Auto Club 500 presented on Fox by Q Motor Oil. Only 2 caution flags, both brief ones for debris. The least we've ever had here was 4. Race record 155 miles an hour in 1997. Right now, the race pace, including pit stops, 159 miles an hour as Greg Biffle, driving the National Guard Ford, taking no prisoners, as he right now has a 5-second lead on Tony Stewart. One mishap on pit road in Joe Nemechek's pit. Keep an eye on Dave Weiss, who is the front tire carrier. He takes the tire back to the wall and then comes to either clean the grill or move a piece of tape on the front.
And they dropped the jack, and that's Joe Nemechek's sign to go. You don't think it's dangerous on pit road, but old Dave pops up and back to get things ready again.
Upended, but okay. Nemechek is 2 laps back in 34th position right now.
Yeah, right now we only have 15 cars left on the lead lap. The last car on the lead lap right now is Kurt Busch in that 2 car, and he is only about 2 seconds away from being lapped by leader Greg Biffle.
Yeah, it just tells you how well Biffle's getting around this place right now. I mean, he's putting them down every time. He's just putting them down one after another.
This is Kevin LePage, the Vermonter, in the roadloans.com. Number 61.
Side, it's closing. Too bad. Side.
Look at the right side of his car.
It's a piece of a valance that goes around the exhaust pipes on the right side. It's kind of part of the package that NASCAR puts on the car. It's just a piece of aluminum. If it could come off, certainly we would have a debris caution as long as it stays attached. Probably not really affecting the handling of the car.
No, it doesn't do much.
Back up front, Greg Biffle, 6.8 seconds up on Tony Stewart, and 14 seconds ahead of third place Mark Martin after this cycle of pit stops. The lead car in this race and the leader in what has been a great day so far for car owner Jack Roush, who has already been to victory lane Friday night in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race with Mark Martin, and yesterday in the NASCAR Busch Series Stater Brothers 300 with Greg Biffle behind the wheel. Steve?
Hey, Mike, we've caught up with car owner Jack Roush. Jack, you've got all 5 cars in the top 10, including the leader. How do you decide where to put your interest?
Well, you know, I don't really have anything to say about this. The guys are the crew chiefs are captains of their own ship. They're doing whatever they want to do. You know, there's a little bit of difference in strategies as far as who's best, depending upon who's best at the end, but it's strictly in the crew chief's hands right now, and I'm just hoping they don't run into one of them.
That's amazing.
Jack's cars 1st, 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 10th. So chances are they'll be running in very close proximity at some time before this ends. And caution is out for the 3rd time today at lap 196. Debris in turn number 1.
Tony Stewart caught a real break there, Larry.
That's the caution he's been looking for, because it gets him back on sync with everyone. But what's interesting, teams cannot make it from here without stopping again.
And who is the first car 1 lap down to get the free pass? Not him. The number 8.
Yeah, Tony doesn't need it. He's sitting there in 2nd place, so he's in good shape, but Dale Jr. sure did need it.
Now let's explain the free pass for the viewers that are just starting to watch NASCAR on Fox. For so many years, when the caution would come out, cars that were a lap down would race back to the finish line to try to beat the leader back there to get back on the lead lap. A couple of years ago, NASCAR stopped that for safety reason. When the caution comes out, the field is frozen. You are locked in your positions. But to still give teams an opportunity to get back on the lead lap, the first car that's behind the leader that's not on the lead lap, he gets to go around and get back on the lead lap. It's called the free pass or the lucky dog award.
I'm just wondering what's going on with Kurt Busch. Oh, there he goes. He was behind the he was in front of the leader when the caution came out. It's like they held him up for some reason. Now he's going, and he's going to go around and come up to the rear of the field because he was the next car to get lapped.
Yeah, the pace truck picked up Busch, and you're not allowed to pass that pace truck once it comes up on the racetrack unless you are waved around. So they waved him around. He'll come around around, take up his proper position, and Dale Jr. will get waved around to get the free pass.
But we talked about a good break for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Stewart. It was a big break for Kurt Busch, as we just mentioned. He was about 2 seconds from going a lap down.
He's about a car length when that caution came out.
43 cars started and 43 are running. The last time we had a Nextel Cup type race with no DNFs, did not finishes. September 1996, North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. All 37 cars were running at the finish.
Now let's just remember our keys to the race, our strategy. I've got to believe, Darrell, everyone here with about 54 laps to go, they will take 4 tires. This could lead to some strategy at the end of the race, maybe fuel only, if it stays green. Steve Burns.
Mark Martin, no adjustments on the last stop. This time he says he wants just half a round down in the left rear. Car's a little bit tight for Mark Martin. No adjustments for Casey Kane on the 9 car. Casey says he's got that car right where he wants it. Matt.
And leader Greg Biffle, a lot of debate back and forth between he and crew chief Doug Richard over whether to make an air pressure change or not. They decided against it. The car was just a tick on the tight side, Dick.
Tony Stewart very pleased with his automobile, asked for virtually no changes, but Greg Cipanelli, the crew chief, has said, need you to conserve fuel.
And down on pit road in the Gordon pit, they are indeed going ahead to change the battery now. As Jeff Hammond showed you earlier with our cutaway car. Now Steve Letarte and Jeff went back and forth about whether to go ahead and change out the battery because the volts, it was holding at 12, but with only 16 or 15 cars in the lead lap, Gordon running in 13th. As long as they don't lose a lap here, it's a great call because they're really not going to lose much position on the racetrack.
All right, this is going to be the battery animation here. Jeff Hammond showed it at the Ford cutaway car. They take the left rear tire off, take that aluminum cover off. There you see that Marine quick disconnect. They slide the battery out, disconnect that plug, pull the battery out, throw the new one up in there, put the disconnect back together, put the door on, and away he goes.
Important to do this when you have this opportunity, because if they're not sure if the alternator is charging, putting electricity back into the battery that's in the car, that thing could slowly come to a halt before the checkered flag.
Moral of the story, he could use this caution too.
The Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q Motor Oil, is sponsored by the new 99-cent Buffalo Snacker from KFC. Heat things up for under $1.
The debris in turn 1 has been cleaned up. We're going to come to the green with 50 laps to go. 16 cars on the lead lap. Greg Biffle, Tony Stewart, Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, the front 5. But some drivers made a late stop for splash and even tires.
Okay, crew chief, 50 laps. Can I make it?
Well, you're going to have to save me a little fuel like you heard Doug Richard tell Greg Biffle. But yet, Casey Mears, Dale Jarrett, and Kurt Busch all topped off when they got the 1 to go.
Let's crank it up on the restart. Restart's a great opportunity to pass, but there's some white knuckle racing going on the first few laps after a restart.
Okay,
like this.
You make some desperate moves, and we'll watch the 11 here in the 7.
Riding with Denny Hamlin.
7 just closed the door on Denny Hamlin in the 11 car. That's Robbie Gordon made contact, and as you can see, everybody went around safely but closely.
And a lot of cars stacked up behind Hamlin as a result. Now they're somewhat sorted out. Greg Biffle over Tony Stewart. Mark Martin. Biffle racing as hard as he can to get away from the field, but trying to stretch his gas mileage. How do you do both?
But quickly, how fast is Tony Stewart and Mark Martin? They just ran the quickest lap of the race right then on lap 202, over 400 miles into this race. Yeah, running that kind of a pace, you're not saving any fuel, trust me.
Well, conditions are right. The weather's, the temperature's dropped a little bit. You've made all the right adjustments. You want that baby to be as good as it can be because you're racing for the win now. Whatever you got, and whatever you got, you better use it.
Greg Biffle and that 16 car, Tony Stewart, both. We've been seeing a lot of cars run the high line. Both those cars are tied to the bottom of the racetrack.
Serious racing going on back here, I'll tell you that.
Jeff Gordon now in 14th. There are 16 cars on the lead lap. What about fuel, Steve? Excuse me, Matt.
Here in the Gordon pit. Now, Steve Letarte, you had your man come back down pit road. You topped him off. How close are you?
Well, we're real close. I don't know if we can make it, but I just want to thank all the guys here in this DuPont Hughes Chevrolet. They've done a great job through adversity all day. We got the battery changed, and it's no secret we're struggling these 2-mile tracks, but Jeff drove great today, and we're definitely building for the future. We're real excited.
Are you going to bring it back, or are you going to the finish?
Well, we'll let the race, see how the race falls, and I'll let you know.
I think at this point they're going to roll the dice. He told his driver earlier on the radio, don't expect to hit pit road again unless you're either out of fuel or we have a caution. And Mike, you heard how much they want to win on this type of track configuration. We said it earlier. Since October 2002, only 2 wins in Atlanta and Fontana on a 1.5-mile, 2-mile type track like Fontana.
Well, right now, Matt Kenseth in the 17 car just drove by his teammate Mark Martin in the 6. Now, that is a battle, or was a battle, for the 3rd place. Steve.
Yeah, Larry Mack just listening to the radio transmissions. There's Mark Martin in the 6 car. His crew chief, Pat Tryson, has already told them they cannot go the distance on gas. On the other hand, the 9 car of Casey Kane, team director Kenny Francis, has told Casey they're pretty close. He said if you can conserve gas at the end of this run, we may be able to make it all the way.
And Darrell, about the only way a driver can conserve gas is roll out of the throttle a little early, pick the throttle up a little later on the exit of the corner.
Yeah, it's not unusual to see Mark Martin pull over and let somebody go by if they're a little quicker than he is. How you save gas is you just don't jump back in the throttle. You ease the gas down, you squeeze it down, and then you follow and draft anybody that happens to be running about like you are.
I tell you, I've been watching these 2 cars here, Kurt Busch in the 2, Casey Mears in the 42. We made a note a while ago. They came to pit road and topped off. It looked like they have slowed their pace down. They're just trying to keep in touch with the leaders. That may be 2 cars that know they can't win this race unless they do it on fuel mileage.
Well, it takes a lot of discipline to save fuel. You got to get out of the gas a little early and let the car coast and let the engine rest every now and then.
But Darrell, if you're running this race to a pace, how far do you dare let those leaders get away?
Well, if you know they got to stop and you don't, doesn't make any difference.
42 laps to the finish in the Auto Club 500 presented by Q Motor Oil on Fox.